You want to talk about the politicization of the legal system? I mean, this is Exhibit A.
But of course, we've never had a former president or a presidential candidate facing the kind of charges that the president faced because of his own activities. And of course, the Attorney General in Manhattan has nothing to do with the Department of Justice. Finally, what do you expect from the sentencing process?
I vehemently disagree that the district attorney in New York was not politically motivated here, and I vehemently disagree that President Biden and his political allies aren't up to their necks in this prosecution. I think the fact
there's
that
no
Biden
evidence of that, sir. There's no. I'm not going to let you continue to say that. There's just zero evidence of that.
So Paula Jones can get $850,000 from Bill Clinton, but Stormy Daniels can't get $130,000, and that's a felony. Got it. Check. Roger. Executive Vice President of the Trump Org, Eric Trump himself. Eric, glad to have you on. Wish it was under better circumstances, but these people lost their minds on this Sunday.
Yeah, they lost their minds, Kyle. But, I mean, look who Stephanopoulos is, right? I mean, he was the head of the War Room. He was head of Clinton's campaign, back in the day, right? Everybody knows what side George Stephanopoulos is on. There's no question about that. Carl, a little statistic, and I have inside information because the person who's in charge of it happens to sleep in my bed, Laura Trump. But she raised in 48 hours, she raised over $70 million in soft donations and in small dollar donations, right? The average one of those donations was like $40. I mean, think about that. 30% of those people had never been seen by a political party ever before. They weren't on the rolls of the RNC. They weren't on the rolls of the DNC. Again, these are people who came into the Republican Party because they thought the whole thing was such a travesty. And not a single person in this country believes that a former president of the United States, a 45th president of the United States, and probably the 47th president got indicted and charged with 34 felonies over $130,000. Carl, I went down to that courthouse every single day.
Yeah.
They closed down 10 blocks around that courthouse. They had thousands of police officers. They had gates everywhere you could possibly imagine. You couldn't get literally within 10 blocks of the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. They would shut down the FDR Drive every single day when he went down there on the way back up. Over $130,000. They don't do a damn thing about Hunter Biden when, he's taking in tens and tens of millions of dollars from countries all around the world, sitting on boards of natural gas companies. They don't do a damn thing about Hillary Clinton, who, after getting a congressional subpoena, deletes 33,000 emails from her home servers, right? Again, she has the subpoena. She deletes all those emails. They don't do a damn thing about that. They don't do anything about, the prostitution. They don't do anything about, illicit drugs on Hunter's laptop. But guess what? They go after Donald Trump for a $130,000 legal bill, which was marked down as a legal bill from 8 years ago, despite the fact that it probably cost the city of New York a couple $100 million. And, it's many billions of dollars, Carl, when you take all the businesses that see the sham that was going on, how weaponized that court system is, and decided to either leave the state or never enter the state, for fear that the exact same thing could happen to somebody else if they were on the wrong side of the political spectrum. So it was a sad day, but the fundraising, we've never seen anything like it. And you probably saw the walk-in to UFC 302, where literally you had 30, 40,000 people in Prudential Center that absolutely went crazy and started chanting USA and we love Trump and every other kind of pro-Trump, pro-American chant that you can think of.
Right. Now the whole thing is crazy, and the best part about it is there was not one Republican riot out there breaking a single thing. We donated money, and out it came as, $70 million in less than 24. That's insane to me. Eric, I want to also point one thing out. James Comey, who is a joke in himself, thinks that throwing your father in jail is A-okay. Watch this.
Do you agree with that it would be difficult or nearly impossible for the law enforcement institutions to put him in actual jail?
No. They would just put him in a double wide somewhere out near the fence, out in the grass. And he would eat there, he'd shower there, he'd exercise there, he'd be away, as Danya Perry said, from general population, but it's obviously doable.
Now, also, Democrats in Congress are saying, but you know what? If a president is ever convicted of a felony, we should strip him of his Secret Service detail. I mean, really, there's no bounds to what they want to do to your father.
Carl, I mean it sincerely. These people would love to see real harm done to him. And I'm not just talking about, they try and do that every day in terms of going after his wallet, trying to bankrupt him, trying to go after his family, subpoenaing all of us, trying to go after him criminally for absolute nothing. They weaponize every system, but I mean it. They would love to see real physical harm done to him. And it pains me to say that, right? This isn't America, but you know, I mean, look at Comey. Comey knew the whole Russia, you know, hoax was exactly that. He was a hoax, and he let it drag on for 3 years. It, you know, destroyed this country for a period of 3 years. It pitted two of the largest nuclear powers against each other because, you know, some selfish woman wanted to get an extra 3 votes for her campaign. I mean, and he allowed it to happen. You know, it's really sick. The derangement is truly, truly sick. They would love to see him rot out there. But you know who doesn't? America. When you see the swing of independents coming over to my father, they know exactly the games that have been played. There's only so many times you could cry wolf, and they did this with the first impeachment, and they did it with the second impeachment. They did it to all his Supreme Court justices. You know, they tried to go after me. They tried to go after Barron. They tried to go after Don, everybody in our family, all his friends. Then they sent, you know, Letitia James, and they sent Fani Willis, and they brought cases in Washington, D.C., You know, they tried to take him off the ballot in Colorado, then they tried to take him off the ballot in Maine, then they tried to take him off the ballot in Michigan. I mean, how many more of these hoaxes do you want? They have one, you know, job, and they realize that Biden's not going to beat him at the polls. He has zero enthusiasm. My father stood up a TikTok page, Carl, literally 2 days ago, and he's got 15 times more followers than Biden does, who's had a TikTok page for months and months and months, right? They realize that they're going against an army of people who absolutely love Donald Trump, who love America, and they can't compete. So guess what? They would love to throw him in jail. They'd love to strip away his civil liberties. They'd love to do anything they could to take him out of the race.
Right.
That's been their plan the entire time, and it's obviously not working. And, you know, frankly, Carl, every day it's backfiring. I mean, the love and support right now is better than it's ever been before. And so, you know, keep playing your games. You know, keep doing stupid things, and I promise you, you know, it's a law of unintended consequences. It will come back to catch them as it has every other time in the past.
It will. Well, I hope the Democrats are paying attention. Eric Trump, always a pleasure, sir.
Thanks so much, Carl.